Welcome to Earth's Mightiest Weirdos. Welcome back, everybody. We're about to get weird. As you may have noticed, Brian Lee is not here with us this evening. He is living out one of his fantasies to visit the Baseball Hall of Fame, and he checked out Fenway. So we have three wonderful weirdos here tonight. We asked my co-host at This Dislike podcast, Duane, to join Marky, Mark, and I. Duane, you got to deal with two Mark variants. Is that okay?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Can't beat it.
Mark, let's hope that it works out a little bit better than it does for Loki.
You know, I think there's some good vibes going with new Gator Loki. I think we're good.
If you want to be Gator Loki, you can, because I know he's beloved.
I'm good with that because he doesn't have to say much. He just has to
Yeah,
I'm good with that.
Just growls.
I'm good with it.
James from Mouse Ears of Magic podcast remind you, don't forget to smash that like button. If you're joining us over on YouTube, hit that like button, click the subscribe and that bell. Let us know that you're here. We're trying out a new technology. As you can see, all of your comments are being brought up from both YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. So now you can be a part of the chat. You can see yourself come on air, that you don't have to wait for us to pull you up. That discussion can happen here live. So we're trying a new technology. This is Restream.io. If it is the first time and you notice that you're showing up as Facebook user, just like you did with StreamYard, you have to give this, it's a new app. So you have to give Restream permission in Facebook. Facebook has conditions that you have to click chat.restream.io/FB. And then it allows you to pull your name and your likeness up, much like I can do with my mother who is joining us. Hello, Mom. My mother is getting weird with us on Monday. And that sounded horrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
Freezing.
But yes, Katie B is here. Hello. Mindy is here. James is I'm sure James is going to bring up something that I just said on Diz Live about 15 minutes ago. I'm not the only one afraid Mark is attempting to hypnotize us with this background. Dude, of course that's happening. Why would not that happen? So it's all good. Gentlemen, before we get into the job of the week, which is to break down Loki episode 5, I figured let's talk first about the gigantic MCU news that happened and just broke today as it pertains to Black Widow. Guys, breaking news, Black Widow dominated the box office and restored the faith of the many that Hollywood is not dead and or broken, with an 80 million domestic haul and an international gross of about 78 million. Yes, it's not Endgame level take, but it still is very good to remind us that the movies are still going well. Oh, and by the way, it also made some like $60 million on Disney Plus Premier Access. Wow. So dominated the box office. I know that we all saw it. We recorded that evening a spoilered review of Black Widow. Don't know how many people checked that out, but it was out nonetheless that night. We had a lot of fun taping it. That's the whole point of this podcast, is that we just like talking Marvel. But now that you've seen the reaction to Black Widow, the box office results after the weekend, and maybe having a chance to think about that, what's your reaction, Marky Mark, to that news?
I'm such a movie theater fan, enthusiast, nerd. I mean, even when I went to Hollywood, I walked by some historic movie theaters. That's how big of a nerd I am. Being in the theater, I mean, we've all seen that video of Endgame from the camera in the back of the theater when Cap picks up, the hammer, and everyone just goes crazy. You started to feel that excitement with Black Widow coming back. I know people in the theater around me, when the Marvel Studios intro came on, people started getting the chills. And that's just an intro. That's how much of an impact Marvel has. I'm happy to hear Fast and Furious started bringing it back, and then Black Widow just shows that it wasn't a one and off thing. Black Widow is showing that movie theaters are coming back. People miss that atmosphere, that excitement. I'm for it. I love it. I'm happy. I'm happy to see that a female-led movie can kick. Oh, man, I'm trying to watch my language. Can kick butt. Mark, your mom's in the audience. I'm really trying to be good.
No, it's okay. We could say ass. We've said ass.
Okay.
After all, Captain America is America's ass.
That's true.
So we have to. But then Cap would also say language.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, I'm happy to see Scarlett Johansson showing that she can carry a movie. The movie was badass, especially after Wonder Woman 1984. I was hoping for a stronger female movie to be in people's memory.
Agreed.
So my only critique of this movie, which I did levy on our review, was I said, while I really loved the movie and I truthfully loved this movie, I wish that this movie had come out when it really should have in the timeline of the MCU. It was about 8 years overdue. Although I will say I do respect and like the decision that Kevin Feige and the producers of the MCU made to say, listen, Scarlett deserved her own movie. She deserved her origin story, so to speak. So they rectified that. I was just a little disappointed that while the post-credit scene definitely pushes forward the MCU and it presents us with a new character, I didn't feel like this movie really pushed forward the MCU. It was a nice look back. It was a nice stroll through memory lane, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great movie in terms of it had a really nice pacing between the action sequences and then the comedic family moments between the four of them. But that said, I wanted this movie like 8 years ago. I'm still glad I got it now because we're all dying for a blockbuster. Let's face it, guys. We needed a blockbuster in our lives. Yeah. So it came out at the perfect time. You can see clearly everyone in society wanted a blockbuster as well. And I think the movie's going to continue to do really well because it had really great word of mouth.
Yeah. I will say, Mark, as far as, you talked about moving the story forward, I think one thing that it did do is it gave us a greater appreciation for Yelena. And I think that is actually going to help move the story forward because now we have, her character. And to me, she was super strong in the movie, so I think that's good. So that, to me, that was definitely, a plus.
My dude, Sebastian is here. Sebastian, first off, welcome. Thanks for joining the Weirdos. But I agree with everything that he says. I couldn't wait to see it. I really just wish this had been before she expired in Endgame. I think the movie would have been so much more effective too if we had gotten this before Endgame. Obviously, you wouldn't have gotten that post-credit scene, but
yeah. And I mean, I haven't bought it yet on Disney Plus. I probably will, but I can't wait to do a double feature where I watch Civil War straight into Black Widow. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Sarah just said, I agree with Sebastian. Too little, too late, maybe. It really was. I mean, it really was. That's not detracting at how wonderful the movie was. It was an awkwardly placed movie. It really felt like a movie that should have came out like 8 to 10 years ago. And that's fine. Like I'm not tearing the movie apart artistically. It's just this movie really should have came out. It was out of scope and sequence. Yeah. And that's fine to say. I think that's a really fair criticism. It's not a toxic point of view. Like Mark said, this was the female empowerment movie that I wanted Wonder Woman to be. It wasn't preachy. It really showed that, these female characters kicked, again, they kicked some ass, language. And it was a lot of fun. I never knew that we were going to get a Stranger Things crossover, that we're going to get to see David Harbour broken. Like, this is actually ahead of its time. So David Harbour is going to this is how David Harbour is going to get out of Russia in Stranger Things, guys. So I felt so happy.
Let me ask you guys this. Now, Captain Marvel came out and, it was a little out of sequence, and Black Widow came out a little out of sequence. Is it because Captain Marvel didn't really connect as tightly as Black Widow? Is that why we were more okay with, I know, don't get me wrong, Captain Marvel's got a lot of critics, but is that why we were a little more okay with Captain Marvel coming out and not being really in sequence? We're okay with, because it was more separated?
The Captain Marvel narrative made a lot more sense. that we hadn't seen her and then we went back in time. But that said, it's also a really strong critique of that movie, that the movie is more, it's a period piece and it's a look back. We have not seen her. She hasn't been around.
Right.
And there were a lot of legitimate criticisms about the period nature of that movie, that people said, like, this, it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense, in that it really comes almost at the beginning of the story. It's like you've got Captain America, and then you would have essentially had that in the sequence, in the scope of time. So it didn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. I just think that people were really tough on Brie Larson as a character, and the way that she played Carol Danvers. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be toxic, and I don't think that that's fair, because I really like Brie Larson. I like
one of your favorite lines is from her, Mark.
You know it. Hey there, Peter Parker. Got something for me? I like her. I think that she's a lot of fun. I've seen so many people delight in the fact that the Marvels is almost going to be now shared time with her, and almost in that they're delighting that she lost her movie or whatnot. I don't think that's the case. I think, did that happen to Captain America and Winter Soldier because he had to share so much time with Bucky and with Natasha? No, it wasn't just about the world is expanding, and this is building towards a greater narrative again. She's not losing her movie. She's just getting more people in her orbit.
Yeah.
So
me being the movie score guy, I got to give a shout out to Lorne Balfe, the composer. I love his movie score for this one. If you're into movie scores, check it out. Highly recommend it. He also did the Chris Pratt Amazon, The Tomorrow War. So he did that one. He's having a pretty good year. And then I love the cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit, the Nirvana song by Malia J. I know Brian out there, my co-host, he's loving that song too. If you haven't seen the movie yet, don't listen to the song yet. Be surprised when it comes in. It has a big impact. If you have seen the movie and you want to hear it some more, it's on Spotify and it has been playing a lot on my playlist.
Yeah. Well, somebody send James a text and tell him that we're done and we're finished with Captain Marvel, with Black Widow. We're not going to be talking Black Widow. If you want to check out our spoiler review, Earth's Mightiest Weirdos dropped it, and Earth's Mightiest Weirdos and United We Fan released it at the same time that those guys released it on their RSS feed as we did ours. Check that out and see if you match up with what all four of the weirdos wound up saying about the film. So, guys, I can tell you something. We were equally high on this episode of Loki, that I was fist bumping at the end of this episode. Sarah just said, James, it's safe to come out now.
I just texted him too.
Yeah, really excited about Loki. This week's episode was titled, and really, really clever, the episode was titled Journey into Mystery. Some of you may or may not know this about the title. The title comes from the comic book that started it all for this Marvel iteration of Norse mythology. Thor's first appearance was in Journey into Mystery number 83 back in 1962. And then Loki himself showed up in the Journey into Mystery series only a couple of months later over in episode or issue 85. So this title came from the origins of the Thor Loki series. So that was really fun for people who have been reading Thor all the way back since 1962. Loki would eventually get his own Journey into Mystery comic, by the way, which for good reason that he would have his own run. The episode was pretty much picked up right where we left off. After getting pruned, Loki awakens to find 4 other Lokis. Classic Loki, boastful Loki, Kid Loki, and then the 4th, which we toiled over. And Mark, on air, dude, you're gonna get your props.
Thank you.
It's not Croaky. Brian's not here to take his comeuppance. It was Alligator Loki. Mark figured it out. He channeled his inner Steve Irwin, and he looked at the snout of that thing and said, guys, it's not a crocodile, it's an alligator, and I know that I'm right. And he doubled down, and he was 100% right.
It could be Alagoki, right? Alagoki?
Al,
Maybe
Al Loki? Al Loki? I know, we got to figure something clever.
Yeah.
We got to figure something.
I'll take my victory and not try to come up with a cute name. I'll just stop.
Just walk away.
Yeah.
Walk away and nod your head.
Mic drop. Yeah.
Yeah. But guys, we learned really quick, when a person is pruned, they are not killed. Instead, they are sent to a place at the end of time, which is called the Void. It is a broken wreck of a world which is preyed upon by a giant hungry cloud monster, which is known as Eliath. Loki reunites with Sophie and Mobius, and then Sophie concocts a plan to enchant Eliath, thereby freeing the path to whatever lies beyond the Void. So let's discuss. I don't want to get too much into the blow by blow as much as just the major points of the episode itself. But guys, let's talk first about the Void. What were your overall impressions of the Void? We didn't really get a great look at it last week, other than we saw a remnants of a Stark tower, a desolated landscape, and then pretty much the focus was on the Loki variants. So the Void, what were your Mark? What, how did this play for you?
I mean, it was a good alternate reality setup. It showed you a grand epic scale. You knew something big was going to happen. The Thanos helicopter, the nerd in me giggled so much because I know when the directors, the Russo brothers, were talking about Infinity War and they were talking about Thanos's long blade, they said they were inspired by his helicopter from the comics. So to actually see it in the background, I was nerding out. I was so happy. So that was like the bigger highlight for me.
Yeah, Duane just said the number of Easter eggs built into this episode is mind-blowing, from a crashed helicarrier to Frog Thor. Duane is so right. We could probably spend the entirety of this episode just talking about the Easter eggs that were there in the Void.
So many people didn't catch that was Frog Thor. They thought, I had a lot of people, their mind was blown when I said, oh yeah, that was Throg. And they were like, that wasn't Thor?
That was Frog Thor.
So many people thought that was just a little mini Chris Hemsworth. Yeah, they didn't know.
No, it was Frog Thor. Duane, your thoughts on the Void?
I thought it was really cool. There's some things that jump out at you, like Stark Tower and things like that. But I actually was just trying to take in kind of the fact that everything had kind of been destroyed. Everything was just, like you said, it was just desolate. It was almost like it was just, like a natural disaster had happened or something for everything.
Yeah.
And, yeah, exactly. And so I enjoyed that. I thought it was really cool. I also, and I'm sure we'll probably get there, but in that Void, one of my favorite parts in the kind of early on there is Mobius in the pizza delivery car. Really made me laugh. He comes flying up in the delivery car and Sophie jumps into the car with him. I just thought it was hilarious. Sylvia, I mean, sorry.
What I thought
it was great.
Just as much as the backdrop and how cool that was to get all those Easter eggs and the things from various points of the MCU. Mm-hmm. What made it work so much was Hiddleston's reaction to being in that new reality, that he thought he was dead, woke up, and it was like one of those, am I tripping scenarios? Like, what is happening right now? The way he reacted to not only just the variants and the Loki's that were there, but even like the flora and the fauna that were running around, like those weird chicken things that looked like question marks. He didn't know what was going on. So that really played, it played well. That I thought the way he set up the Void, I thought that was really, really good stuff. But anyway, the gentlemen, like we say, welcome to the Loki'verse.
Yeah.
As you can see, we know there's a lot more people than Loki, but because of his personality traits, this allows him to, I guess, survive the Void more so than perish. There's a high probability that Loki's survive, and classic Loki even says that. It's like, why are we all here? We're survivors. This is what we do. So let's get into the Loki'verse. Who was your favorite Loki?
That's a good question. To be honest with you, I kind of like the classic Loki. I think you know, and the way just he was, and kind of his ultimate demise at the end, and how he laughs, you know, and everything. I really, that was cool to me. I thought he was fun. So he would be high on my list. I'll stick with that.
All right, Mark.
I love Gator Loki, but I also shout out to Loki, whose horns were the bicycle handles. I got a kick out of that guy. So, but yeah, I would probably, if I was being serious, Gator Loki, I just really dug him. I don't know why. Classic Loki. I want to like Kid Loki as much as everyone else, but I'm not quite there. So
okay,
yeah,
Kid Loki, because he'll be back. By the way,
he'll be back.
You know that Kid Loki is part of the Young Avengers, so you know he's going to be back in some form or fashion, because he's now the fourth Young Avenger that we've seen in other projects. So you know you're getting some form of young Loki in the future. So I agree with you. Alligator Loki clearly stole the show because of just the sheer comic nature of they cut to him and he would just make a grunting noise, like chiming in on the various conversations.
But what's he said at one time? Oh, he's praying.
But I enjoyed the various Lokis, but I will tell you that I did fist bump with classic Loki completing his arc. That was just so well done that this guy gets, I mean, imagine how much screen time does classic Loki get? And did that guy just not milk every single second
he was awesome.
of being on screen? And I don't say that in a bad way. Like the term milked would seem like it's a negative, you know, it's a negative attack on him. But the man just made such great use of his screen time to be beloved by the end of a single television episode in which he wasn't really the focus of it, that when he completed his story arc by the end of the episode, I was fist bumping going, holy crap, I'm rooting for this guy that I literally just met.
Yeah.
I've just beginning and end. So Jared saying Gator Loki. And I love Amanda's comment here where she says Loki's reaction to all of the variants while they were arguing was definitely a favorite. Sebastian brought up, Duane brought up something that I really loved. That Duane, it's funny that you say this because I actually had this. Was anyone else disappointed after all that hype of President Loki, as he was so short-lived? His hand was funny as hell, though. Did that kind of strike you? Because I said this to Brian Ferguson.
I think it was the perfect amount. We didn't get too much of him, and I didn't. I guess I was one of the few people who didn't expect too much of him. I thought it was a short-lived, brilliant cameo, and we were good, and the story kept moving on. What else did we need?
See, now, because of his use, or should I say overuse, in all of the promo and marketing materials.
Yeah. Okay.
I really anticipated.
He has a Funko too.
I know. I really anticipated, with all of the stuff that had come around surrounding President Loki, I had envisioned him having a much larger part than being reduced to essentially a cameo. He was only there for maybe a minute and a half. Then he loses his hand. And guys, on a scale of 1 to 10, the scream when he lost his hand was like an 11 for me.
Yeah, it was so good.
I was drinking my coffee. I spit out the coffee, like not like a crazy, like I just spewed it all over the living room because I have a sense of, I'll have to clean that up. But I choked on it and a little got out and spilled onto my t-shirt. That it was so good when he gets the hand taken off, as a nod to like Chubbs from
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, Amanda, good job pointing out. Even as the meet and greet, they have so many variants of Loki out there. Like, good job. And then going back to classic Loki, Richard E. Grant, such a brilliant actor. It takes a very comfortable actor to wear that costume. I doubt Robert De Niro would do it, you know. So good on him. I'm trying to think of movies that maybe people will have known, seen them, but check him out if you can. He was in Hudson Hawk with Bruce Willis. If you're looking for another movie where he plays a villain. So
I loved all of them. I thought, you know, and Duane just said this a second ago, The acting in this episode really was top notch. I felt like this episode set itself apart. The quiet moments that were had between Sophie and Ravonna Renslayer, which we'll get into, the quiet moments between Loki's and Sophie and Loki was just absolutely amazing. That awkward moment where they were like, they were digging on each other, but it was a very awkward, like, let's not admit it and say what's actually happening here. All of those things were just absolutely pitch perfect. And then just, they were so well balanced with those epic events and those wide shots of them standing hand in hand or just like looking into the void and looking at Alioth. It was just so well done. I do want to say this too, and Mark will appreciate this. It's really nice to see that the smoke monster found work in Hollywood after Lost.
He's had a hard career with Lost and then Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. I'm waiting. I wish the E Network still did E True Hollywood Story. Amanda, I see your Spice World, by the way, and I thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about it. But yes, I'm glad the smog monster is making a comeback.
Well, listen, he didn't really get a proper ending in Lost. He faded away. He just kind of dissipated. And that is smoke. That's smoke humor right there. That he just kind of, he evaporated away. It's nice to see that the smoke monster got a shot in the void. The casting director saw something in him and said, "You're it, kid."
Yeah.
So,
is he Mickey from Rocky? Is that who that was?
It's true. Mickey from Rocky was the casting.
You can do it, smog monster.
You can do it.
You can do it, kid. It was
your tone. It's all wrong, smog monster. Do it again. More cowbell.
Brian, we apologize. Brian says, I don't come for 1 week, and the first words that I hear are Spice World. Listen, it's Bedlam. It's the void. It's the void up in here. That reaction is exactly the Loki reaction. It's like, what is going on here? Like, what's happening?
Look, we're possibly getting a Spice World 2. It's not that out of there, It's still relevant.
I see you. Hold tight. So, Brian Lee, my only thought, it didn't feel like President Loki was built up. I love the episode so much. Richard E. Grant is a treasure. Alligator Loki is all of our spirit animals. Yep. James from Rouse Series of Magic. When will we get the Matt Damon variant? I love that comment, bro.
Let me ask you this. I did a poll on United We Fans page where I asked, who's everyone's favorite? Alligator Loki or Grogu? I couldn't believe Alligator Loki like ran away with it. I was expecting him to get blown out.
Recency biased.
Yeah. I was just gonna say I think that's just because
people have already forgotten Grogu.
He's near and dear to our hearts right now too.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Duane says, "Are the question birds the modern Munchkins?" Deep thoughts, man. Holy cow! I wasn't prepared for that one. Matt Damon variant would be amazing.
Yes, it would.
Matt Damon.
Grogu till I die, says Brian Lee. Grogu till I die. All right, gentlemen. So let's quickly. We started to get into this. Let's talk about.
I did almost say Alligator Grogu, by the way. I mean, can you imagine that mashup? That variant.
Nice.
Let's get into the Battle of the Lokis very quickly. Aside from President Loki losing his hand and having that amazing squeal, what was your favorite part of the Battle of the Lokis, which seemed more like a Jerry Springer episode than a MCU battle?
I liked I'm gonna go with our Loki, my Loki. Just kind of shaking his head in disappointment and the chaos and kind of just walking through it all, not having thrown one punch. Just the comedic element of it. And at one point, Kid Loki even throws Alligator Loki. I think it was just you just see him like I'm like, wow, we're just doing that now. Okay. So I laughed that they played it for the laughs, and you just see Loki so disappointed in his fellow Lokis.
It was so good. It was so good. Well, but that was the best part. Like it was crazy and it was bedlam. But the best part was right immediately after the fight. It led to an amazing discussion. Richard Grant says, "This is what I think I loved about the fight. One, it was just there was a lot of levity in it. After the very heavy discussion of Richard Grant basically just withering away in time alone. Then there was this fight that really just broke it up, and it was hilarious and it was funny. And then Richard Grant hits everybody with, this is why we're broken. This is what's wrong with us. Is we had boastful Loki, who we thought was on our team, who is only there with a grand scheme to rule what? To rule the void. Like, we can't even exist here. Like, we're just trying to survive here, and still we're concerned with ruling. And that was just such a fascinating discussion. Then when our Loki then says, well, maybe we're never given a chance to grow because we get pruned before we can undergo our development. And then I turned to a discussion, guys. This is what I want to ask you that we had weeks ago. What was Sophie's sin? Why was she pruned? Again, I go back to the idea of she was playing with heroes. She was not your traditional Loki, that she was going to be good. And immediately they were like, oh no, Loki's cannot be good. Loki's can't be heroic. They can't be Valkyries. They can't be the good guys. So her sin was that she was not a Loki. She's not a Loki in the truest sense. And it's so fascinating to me, just that juxtaposition of her within this whole dynamic. I was like, wow, this is really clever. It's great writing. Duane, did you get that feel, or did you get something else? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm not sure what her quote unquote, event was that would cause her to be removed, especially, because she was so young. I certainly think what you're saying is plausible, that, maybe she was going to go down a different path. But either way, I'm glad she's with us now. I also, and I know we kind of glossed over the whole thing, I also really enjoyed in this episode where she pruned herself and, to get to the void so that she could, take it farther. I also enjoyed when Loki was talking about her to the other Lokis and was saying, she's not like us. She's not here, to rule the void or the TVA. She wants to take it down, and so I like, to me, she's super intriguing.
Yeah.
I know that's a little off your topic, but
no, that's fine. Listen, this is what we do. Like this, that's what I love about this show is, at the very least, this is a discussion amongst friends and people who just love Marvel. Like, that's what I love about this show more than anything. Duane just brought up, and I like this, oddly, her being pruned for being good is very similar to classic Loki being pruned for wanting to become good by leaving the planet to possibly make amends. Yeah. I mean, I saw so much of that in that Loki fits inside of this box, that Loki is supposed to be a certain way in the classic timeline. If he deviates from whatever his predetermined fate is, that's when the TVA comes in and snatches him out. And you've seen all of these Lokis at some point or another not live up to the mark. Or even, when the one Loki kills Thor, that's not how it's supposed to play out. Loki is supposed to lose. Loki is supposed to be like a conniving trickster. He's not a winner. He's never supposed to win. So this was like just a really interesting take on, I think, the overall arching idea of what this again, it's always tied back to what the TVA in the main timeline is predetermined to happen.
Well, let's not forget little tidbits. The first Thor, we saw Loki and Thor as kids, and you could tell Loki, even at that age, which was kind of the same age that she was when she was taken, you didn't have the best feeling about him. And then if we remember in Thor Ragnarok, Thor was talking about how he always wanted to be a Valkyrie. And, he made the joke about, well, I can't be one, but, so what I took away from that is Sylvie was going to be like Thor. He wanted to be a Valkyrie. She wanted to be a Valkyrie. So it was, like you said, she wanted to be a hero. And the world said, no, you're a Loki. Yeah, that's not your thing.
Not too fast. Yeah, not too fast. So the other really fun part of this was how we bounced back and forth from the Void back to the TVA, and what was going on between the Loki's versus the conversation that first begins with Sophie and Ravonna Renslayer, and then Ravonna shares a moment that we're gonna talk about with B-15. But those scenes worked in really well as the Loki's were traveling from place to place to then jump back and forth between the TVA and to see what had happened.
By the way, everyone, Mark is referring to Sylvie, but her name is Sophia in real life, the actress's name. So don't come at him for calling her Sophie. He's talking about Sylvie. Her name is Sophia. Go on, Mark. I got you.
My bad, dude.
I got you.
So let's
Sarah, I got you. I got you, Sarah. I got you. I protected Mark. I got him.
So let's get back to the room with the timekeepers in it. We now pick up like again, almost like we did with the end of the last episode of episode 4. We see Ravonna Renslayer sort of trying to explain herself and talk her way out of this situation. And then we see Sylvie trying to get the answers that she does so desperately wants and needs. You think for a second you're going to get an epic team up. I bought it. Sylvie said she bought it for a second. But then we learn that this is all a ruse. We got a really great Miss Minutes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Sequence. And the time vehicle, which was really awesome. But ultimately, we learned that Ravonna is not on board with the plan. She's stalling for time to get some of the agents in to save her. And then Sylvie makes the job somewhat easier by self-pruning, but not before maybe planting a seed of doubt for Ravonna. Because if Ravonna was 100% back into the fold of the TVA, that discussion that she has with B-15 wouldn't have taken the same turn that it did. You can see that at the very least, after all of this, and she sees the decapitation of them, she is looking for answers. And I love where B-15 says to her, "You want the answers. Sylvie needs the answers."
Yeah, she needs them. Yeah.
So let's just take it one at a time, because I know that I lumped the whole sequence there of the TVA in, but let's just attack that one at a time. Mark, where do you want to start, my friend? Go ahead.
I didn't really buy the stall tactic right away. I was like, why do I feel like she's stalling? It's kind of very Loki of her. And then Miss Minutes, good for her for being like, oh, just checking. It must be really deep. I don't know why I went Mrs. Potts there. But the decoy didn't really work on me, but you can definitely tell she isn't giving up on what her life has been with the TVA, but she is starting to ask questions that who's ever in charge, it kind of makes you wonder, does she really know who's in charge? Like, I at first I thought she knew a lot more, but this episode had me questioning exactly how much does she know.
Wouldn't you though, Mark? Wouldn't you wig out if the head of your organization turned out to be some android, and that what you had been working towards, or you thought that you believed to be true, was then all of a sudden you had the rug pulled out from underneath you? I don't know why Ravonna is so calm. Mm-hmm. She's been working for these guys for, I mean, arguably, I know that time works differently there, but let's just say neatly a long time. It was an android. It was a robot. You don't say like, what is going on here? Like that this doesn't pass the sniff test?
But when she hasn't really shown much, I don't know if it's an acting preference or a character choice, but she hasn't really shown much emotion this whole series. So her reactions to me just kind of played its part of, she's very focused and very business. So I don't know. It didn't, me, yeah, I'd be like, oh my God, there's a head on the floor.
Right.
Like, whoa, you know, like, wow. But
well, I mean, you can see it has an effect on B-15. B-15 kind of says to her, it's like, how are you not reacting to this?
But we also saw a lot of emotion from B-15 and Mobius. We saw emotion from them. So,
true. You know,
maybe she's a robot.
The other thing.
Remember first episode where they go, Loki's like, do robots not know when they're robots?
Mm-hmm.
What if she doesn't know and she's a robot? She didn't go through that little scanner soul thingy. Where's Rob on this? I need Rob.
I like it. Well, we've got Rob preloaded in a little while. Rob will be joining us remotely. Ooh. So go ahead, Duane.
I was just going to say too. I'm still intrigued by Miss Minutes because when she's talking and she's doing the stalling, obviously Miss Minutes is helping. But then later when she's in the hallway and she's walking and she tells Miss Minutes, I want to see everything from, the beginning, and she starts going through all that. I'm just intrigued by that because obviously it seems like maybe Miss Minutes obviously has more information than Ravonna does. And so I'm curious about that. Do you have thoughts on, further on Miss Minutes, either one of you?
Miss Minutes has been the one character that I've been pretty hesitant to weigh in on. Mm-hmm. Because if this is just how I am, I'll weigh in on something and I'll go all in on something and it turns out to like not even be close. Like I did that on WandaVision and I was just like, well, that was very embarrassing. I got bonered. Like I got bonered in WandaVision so bad that I'm like, oh, it's this. Like the X-Men are here. We're going to be introducing Professor X. We're going to be folding in the Fox properties. The multiverse is open. Like I was all in on that. And it was like, nope, I got bonered. So I am very hesitant to jump in on anything to do with Miss Minutes. I will tell you though, I did find myself starting down that road and we're going down that slippery slope once Eliath dissipated and we saw into the world that was right beyond the void. I was like, it's Kang. I called Brian. I'm like, it's Kang. It's Kang the Conqueror. I'm in 100%. And I was like, slow your roll, Mark. Professor X is not here yet. Like, you're doing it again. You're doing it again. So I had to chill out. So, okay. All right, guys. So let's talk really quick. Do you want to get into Ravonna and B-15's conversation? Do we want to? I don't know if that's if that conversation bears a whole heck of a lot of fruit right now. It was an interesting scene and sequence. Yeah. Like I said, the best thing from that was Sylvie needs to find out. You want to find out, but she'll beat you to it because she needs it.
Right.
I find it really fascinating that B-15 is just still alive. Let me just say that was the most fascinating thing to me, that you would have thought they would have pruned her and sent her away. I'm curious as to why, one, they're not doing that, but two, that they kind of bribed her with, we'll put you in a loop. We'll put you in a time loop. We won't prune you. What is it that B-15 knows? This is just stuff I ask myself. What is it that B-15 knows or can do that they're more willing to cut a deal with her than they are, say, other timekeepers?
Even Mobius. You know, she didn't hesitate to prune him.
Mark?
Yeah. I mean, B-15... I'm still waiting for the Lost Agent, B-52. I'm sure we're going to get to a Love Shack at some point.
No, he's in the Love Shack. Yeah, he's in the Love Shack. He's not
and then we'll have a Loki Rock Lobster variant. But anyway.
you saw B-52 living in the void.
Right.
He was in the Love Shack, and the tin roof was rusted.
Rock Lobster. I hope someone at home enjoys these song references.
Tin roof.
Brian at home is like, I leave the show and I start getting Spice World and B-52 song references. What happens?
Yeah, but meanwhile, Piano Rob is relishing in the musical references. He's like, oh my gosh, this is my dream come true. Why am I not here right now?
I know. The scene was good. It was a good little explanation. Why was she still alive? I think the only reason is because we need to get answers. So they're kind of holding off destroying those who can provide more answers. I think she does want more answers. And I think that's why she has a purpose.
Amanda, I agree with Amanda wholeheartedly. I am so excited. I am selfishly excited that they haven't cut B-15 yet because I love that actress. Yeah, the work in the show has been great. B-15 is no exception to that. Her work and her arc as a character, going from the super devout believer of the TVA to the one that's really like shaken to the very core, and her paradigm has been rocked to its very core. I'm loving the work that she's doing. Derek says, "What if they're all robots?" And he likes that. He's pretty happy. He's got stars in his eyes with that theory. Lori is joining us. Hello, Lori. Rob plays at Tin Roof. This is all good stuff.
Yeah.
This is all good stuff.
I don't hate it.
And Mindy is saying, "Oh yeah, those songs." Again, we apologize if we're dropping random musical.
I mean, here, if we're going to do random songs, I did see a video where I Need a Hero plays for that big finale at the end. I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit. That song really fits pretty well. That and My Heart Will Go On, both those songs.
That song fits everywhere, though. Let's can we be completely honest? I Need a Hero fits everywhere. I mean, like I'll put that on when I'm making my bagel in the morning, and I feel like it takes me preparing my breakfast from like a 2 to a 10.
Yeah.
In terms of like the emotional investment in that bagel. Yeah. So, what's a song? Just as an aside, I know this isn't Marvel. If you're in the chat, what's your song that gets you fired up? Let us know. All right, guys. So let's talk about Sylvie Self Prunes. Fast forward. Let's just save it. She reunites with the crew. Mobius picks her up in the pizza delivery car.
Amanda, thank you. I almost said that. That was my first go-to. Was Shrek 2.
Mobius picks her up in the car. Before, though, reuniting with all of the Loki'S, Sophie realizes when she does make contact with Alioth that she believes that she can enchant Alioth. Mm-hmm. She makes a connection that when she touches one of Alioth's smoke branches, arms, appendages, I don't know, whatever, she does get a vision of the world that is beyond the void, and she sees something. And it gives her faith in her, but she's confident, gives her faith in her abilities, that she thinks that she has the plan rather than attacking it with a sword. And she takes that to the Loki'S, and Loki is with her to the end. I liked these were the quiet moments of the episode where then you got two of them talking, the rekindled romance,
the sharing of a blanket.
It wasn't really comfortable.
What is this? A tablecloth?
I was going to say it looked like a drapery.
So I did have someone bring up how Loki said he doesn't get cold because of the frost giant in him. So do you think he was doing this sharing of the blanket as kind of a way to like open up more, maybe get a little more, I don't want to say intimate, but just showing a little more emotional connection with her in the blanket, maybe trying to get a little closer? I don't know.
Could be. Is this that movie yawning move?
Oh, look out. Dwayne's got to move. He does the butt check. Oh.
It was smooth. He's a smooth criminal in that moment.
Operator, maybe.
Yeah. It's his only move. Like, he used it to perfection. It was good. It worked. But it was a fun part. To me, the real exciting part of this episode was when they became resolute in their plan. Let's just say, so heading into 6, sort of the end of this episode kind of sets up, I think, it sets up a season 2. Not all of these things are going to be resolved in the next episode. Mobius is given the transporter. He's heading back to the TVA to take it down.
Can we talk a little bit about Mobius?
We could. Let's do that.
The only ones who have survived so far that planet have been Loki's. And is there a chance that we could get a wow ka-chow moment and Mobius is a Loki variant?
He's a Thor variant.
Is that why he understands? Maybe not. Yeah, he has a better understanding of Loki and defends him so much because he could be a Loki.
What if he's a Thor variant, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
Because he looks more like a Thor variant with the blonde hair and those features than he does a Loki.
We just got an alligator Loki, so let's not just assume looks. Let's not.
No, he's green, but he's green.
He's green. That's true. I'll go with that.
Why
is he? I would love it if he was a Thor, because then it's a different kind of love. Instead of being a I love myself, I'm also a Loki. Instead, it's hey, I love you like a brother. Thor love and appreciate and want the good in you to come out, just like we found out from Thor and Ragnarok. I dig that a lot more. That gets more of a wow ka-chow for me than if he was a Loki.
I would love that. I think that'd be a really cool twist. I like it.
But that's why I will speculate that what Mark just said was what got my wheels turning to think, what if he is a Thor variant, and that's why he's predisposed to want to help Loki or to believe him and to see the best in him, because that was Thor's MO in our universe in 616. Is that despite everything that Loki did, he loved him. He always wanted to get him through. Even when he was arrested, he wasn't done with him. He still, he was more disappointed than he was anything else. And he kind of said, like, unhand my brother. Like, that's my brother. He didn't disown him. So I would be really fascinated to see if he is. But again, I don't know how that would work, because he has a life on Earth. He's like into jet skis. He's plucked from the time of Joss Nicola, which is like the mid 90s. That stuff doesn't make as much sense unless he's Thor on Earth, joyriding, and then he gets plucked at that point and he just doesn't realize he's Thor. I don't know.
Read Duane's comment there too, though. He's kind of backing up your point there.
Duane says, actually, wait, we've seen someone other than Loki variants alive. You have Frog, or what else could be alive within the void?
Throg's only surviving because he's buried in a jar. I don't know if he's
dead.
Yeah,
dead. Oxygen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love James. I love this. James just says, lightning comes before thunder. Just saying. Ka-chow. With a can-do attitude and a little rusties.
With a little bit of magic and a whole lot of nerdiness, you too could be one of us weirdos. Ka-chow.
Ka-chow.
Wow. A bunch of old guys who watch TikTok too much right here.
So Mobius, whoever he may be, is heading back to the TVA. That may or may not be resolved in the finale episode. We know that we're getting a second season, so it's likely that we will see Mobius return to take down the TVA in some form or fashion. Kid Loki will return to safety, as we believe classic Loki is doing as well. Many have speculated we're going to get to see Kid Loki in the Young Avengers, which I am all for. I thought that kid did a bang-up job. I thought he was awesome.
So would you want a Young Avengers movie or Disney Plus series?
Series. I want a series.
I want a series. I've been watching The Runaways a little bit, and I just keep thinking, God, I wish Marvel, one, could have done that show. Two, I would love to see what Marvel could do with teenage superheroes.
Yep.
Yeah, very cool.
I would be fascinated by that. I don't think something like that needs to be on the big screen. If there's several seasons of it and it really takes off, if they want to grant it a release on the big screen, I wouldn't be against it. But I don't know if I need to see everything in the movie theater. Now that Disney Plus is giving me content like this, I mean, please and thank you. And then we haven't seen Boastful Loki. He probably dies in the Jerry Springer fray. But we know that we're going to hopefully see a few more of these Loki variants again. I'm pulling for Alligator Loki and something in the future. But Loki and Sylvie face Alioth. Loki gives her a nod, and I was like, oh no. I was like, he's going to self-sacrifice.
I did too. Yeah.
He's going to distract and self-sacrifice. I was like, oh no, I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. And then, guys, classic Loki to the rescue, and I fist bumped.
Yeah.
I actually fist bumped when he started to recreate the full-on projection of Asgard.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, ka-chow. I did a full-on wow. Yeah, at that moment. Your thoughts to classic Loki fulfilling his glorious purpose?
I loved it. I told you he was my favorite, and that whole scene, him displaying the power that he had and the sacrifice, and and then like you said, screaming out glorious purpose. To me, it was a full circle moment. You made the mention earlier how we can cheer for a guy that we've seen in one episode. It was just, to me, it was great. It was phenomenal. Loved it.
Go ahead, Mark, and then I'm going to monologue for 30 seconds. So go ahead.
Okay, real quick then, to get everyone a chance to pick up some popcorn before the monologue. We're going to catch Mark monologuing. I thought it was epic. That's why I think that song "I Need a Hero" would have played so nice over it. Don't get me wrong, the score was beautiful. I love the score for this show, but it was great to see the power of Loki, what he can do. And, Loki even says we underestimate ourselves as to what we can do. I thought it was a great epic scene. It made me sad just because I think it would have looked great on the big screen. There's not too many moments in this show where I had that thought, but this is definitely one of them.
The moment that I got really emotional about, and I just really freaked out. Duane, I'm going to pull up your comment in a second. Like I said, just indulge me for like 30 seconds. I promise to not be bad. I got really emotional at the scene where he created that, and then the way that the music hit at that moment, the way that the visuals hit, the fact that he saved our hero and self-sacrificed himself for the greater good. I got really emotional because, again, it shows that Loki's are capable of change. It's like Mobius says, you're in control. You could do whatever you want. You don't have to be predisposed to follow that script. You can do something better. But the part that really, like, I freaked out, and it was more of like a Brian Ferguson freak out, because Brian Ferguson and I have had so many Loki conversations about the fact that Loki has been so shortchanged in the MCU versus the way he is portrayed in the comics. Loki is a very powerful being in the comics. Here he's almost treated like a secondary character or someone whose powers cannot potentially match not a single one of the Avengers, let alone all of them. He gets ragdolled by Hulk. He gets beaten up or beaten on by about just everybody. So in that sequence where they became a lot more comic book accurate, where Tom Hiddleston says, I think we're stronger than we know, I freaked out because that was a really cool moment that maybe we are going to get that all-powerful Loki that a lot of the fans of the comic accurate Loki have been wanting. Just the way that whole thing presented was so much fun. And then that this guy, even though we only knew him for about 30 minutes of airtime, got his glorious purpose. And let's face it, guys, it was a pretty glorious purpose that this guy had a chance to save the day and really make a difference in the universe. Like, this was a really big moment for him. And so that was really awesome. It was poetic. It was beautiful. And Mark is a music guy too. So the way that the music hit in that moment, the way that the visuals hit, and even the way he died, it really was a glorious death. So the undoing of classic Loki, the way he stepped in, was to me the most epic moment in this entire episode. You guys are they're hitting me with the director. Marky Mark, you wanna put that out because you were the guy that did the legwork for Duane.
Oh, I happen to be on there. Yeah, director is Kate Herron. She did Sex Education, which is on Netflix. Highly recommend it. She did all 6 episodes. And writer Michael Waldron, he wrote on every episode. He had help on a couple of episodes. It had a small writer's room, but we had someone ask about the writer, if it was a different writer. No, Michael Waldron was head writer for all 6 episodes.
Good stuff. That's good Google right there.
That IMDb, it's good.
Nice job. Rob says, speaking of the score, they were playing The Flight of the Valkyrie when she was enchanting the dragon, like the foreshadowing from when Sylvie got taken as a child. Good catch, man. Really good catch there. Rob, everyone hit that like button too. Share with anyone that you like. We appreciate that. Like, I have to say, it's really great. Thank you so much when you guys share this out. If you have some Marvel fans in your life, we always love to reach more Marvel people. I want to say a big thank you to the people that catch us on replay. We always love when you're here live, and thank you to everyone that joins us live. But thank you. I know Sebastian, dude, you're always so great about this. He texts and comments every week, and that sometimes because of his work schedule, Sebastian can't hang with us. But dude, thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you that tune in with us every single week, I speak for all the weirdos when we say how appreciative we are that you guys hang out and you get some Marvel from us. It really means the world to us. Thank you. Thank you so much. Duane, reinforced by the TVA purged him. Classic Loki wasn't evil anymore, but Classic Loki also gave our Loki a chance to say we made maybe more powerful than we imagined. Dude, chills, literal chills.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. Mousy Mirrors and Magic, been an amazing show. Thanks. Thank you, my friends. All right, guys. So we enchant Eliath. He turns green. We see beyond the void. And then we see what?
We see Duloc Castle.
What are we looking at here, guys? Let us know in the comments. Go ahead. Like, knock yourselves out. Get controversial. Do what you got to say.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, we actually had a call in too, so I want to get to one of our speculation.
Yeah, I actually really like this.
All right, so Piano Rob left us a voicemail. If you guys ever want to do this too, while the website is devoted to another show, go to www.thisdislifepodcast.com. Click on the voicemail button and leave a voicemail for Earth's Mightiest Weirdos if you ever want to sound off, and then we can bring you on the show and play your thoughts or even your comment. But Piano Rob had a chance to take advantage of this feature this week. He called in the show because he has a big theory on who is in that castle beyond the void. Rob? Oh, that's not Rob. Sorry, guys. I had the...
What's up, guys? It's Piano Rob. I'm sorry I couldn't make the show tonight, but just real quick, if it is not a Loki variant that is in charge of the TVA, another little theory I had, and I could be totally wrong on every one of these, it could be Immortus. If you look up your Marvel history, Immortus is basically a variant of Kang the Conqueror that is obsessed with making sure the timeline stays intact, that he always ends up in power. So it might be a nice way to introduce Kang without actually introducing the main villain Kang that we're going to get in that Ant-Man and Wasp movie. So I don't know if I'm right. Maybe we'll find out Wednesday. I'll see you guys soon.
I'm going to go with Renslayer. I think it's Renslayer's castle. She's attached to Kang. So that's what I'm going with.
Duane, you have any guesses?
I think it's a Loki variant, but I really like Rob's take. As you would say, I don't hate it. I like that take. I think that would be interesting because I think it would do, like you said, kind of leave Kang still out there for us to get introduced to. But I think it's a Loki variant.
Immortus makes a lot of sense. Immortus is Nathaniel Richards, if I'm not mistaken. So Immortus does hide himself from all others. His big thing is that, and he's a Kang variant, but his big thing is that he is hell-bent on controlling and fixing the timeline. I mean, that's Kang's MO. I have to say this. I will be shocked if we get bonered again. If we get, and everybody who thought...
When did you start making this a regular word?
So, this week, I really did. Brian Ferguson will tell you, he called me on Wednesday and was like, dude, it's Kang. And I go, listen, we had Ralph Boner last time. We were all convinced that was Mephisto. I mean, like, I will throw myself in that lot. And that's why we poke so much fun at ourselves now. And it's like a running gag on the show that we say it's Mephisto. It's Mephisto. We say that because many of us, myself in that lot, I don't exclude myself, bought into Ralph Boner is Mephisto, that's who that is. And they're working together in tandem. And then it was just Ralph Boner, a dude. I would be shocked if that happened again and all signs pointing to Kang, Immortus, and we get King Loki.
Yeah.
I would be very disappointed if there's a Loki variant behind the curtain.
Well, and like that's why I went with Renslayer, as I was thinking there could be some. I had a couple of friends who had me thinking it was a Loki, but then I was looking up because I looked up Rob's character, and then Renslayer was in one of the descriptions. I was like, all right, who's this Renslayer? So went down that rabbit hole, and man, I'm liking her. I'm really feeling some Renslayer. If you haven't got a chance to look her up.
Yep. Duane, I think you're right. So Duane is back in again. Duane is spot on tonight. I have to let you guys know. Like, he and I are working on the same wavelength on a lot of the stuff that he's saying. He says a Loki variant fits, given that one scene that we've seen from the previews that Loki is seemingly a king. Here's the only thing that I will say, Duane. There are instances where Marvel will purposefully put things into a preview or into a trailer that is not used, and they will doctor trailers intentionally to throw us off of the scent of something. What better way to do that than to tease King Loki and then to present Kang? That said, I don't discount what you're saying. I don't know if they want to introduce a big bad in a TV series or a Disney Plus series.
They haven't yet.
They haven't yet. So I'm saying I think you're more right than I am. Probably that's a fake plant in the trailer. You have seen King Loki in it. I'm just saying I hope that doesn't happen, because I would be disappointed if all signs point towards Kang and we get a Loki variant there. I would just kind of go like,
Nah.
And James is making fun of me again. Ralph Boner isn't nearly as good as Stacey Aswad. Sorry. So I had a very long S on our broadcast. It was a long S. I made a mistake.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. And Duane was the one that pointed it out on private chat. I'm trying to read the news, and these guys are laughing that I said Aswad. Because Stacy from Must Do Disney was discontinued, and then they're cracking up. They're like, Mark just said Aswad on her. Now I said it twice. Language. So I think that Duane's right. I think that Duane's probably right. I really want it to be Kang the Conqueror or a variant of Kang the Conqueror, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Brian's never going to leave again. He's never going to miss another episode.
Let us know. Has the show, guys, and be honest with you, has the show been that intolerable? If it is, like, I'm taking next week off.
I think tonight we are earning the weirdo part of the show. Like, we let you know we're Earth's Mightiest Weirdos, and we're putting the weird in weirdos.
Well, when we were picking the name of this show, you and I talked about that, and you're like, do we want to be weird? And I was like, Mark, I am weird. I am weird. I own up to it. My wife will come on air, and she's like, my husband's weird. He's very weird. I love him, but Mark is weird. Katie is. I love Katie.
She's always so supportive.
Check out her podcast as well. She's got a new show. Yeah,
yes.
What a good title. I know I say that, but what a good title for a show.
She's getting it ready for us, man. She's always popping the popcorn and ready to talk movies. So good stuff.
She did a horror one, so I'm always down for that. So, and if you ever want Brian, to see Brian, my co-host, United Way fan, he's not a big horror guy, so I hope he listens to it and learns something.
So real talk, if you want to go back and listen, KDB did with Brianna Shaw did a horror episode of Popping the Popcorn. I was jamming on it. I was loving it. It was so awesome. They were talking like their top horror movies of all time, and they were talking various franchises. And it was so fun to weigh in on horror slasher films and just, oh God.
Mark, should we do a Mount Rushmore of horror movies
right now?
Why not?
I don't have because one, I don't have the Rushmore preloaded and restreamed yet.
Oh, okay.
But I could. Oh.
I mean, I got mine. If you're ready, I got mine.
I'm ready. Go ahead, Mark. You go first.
Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock. It, I still get weird taking a shower after it. Jaws, still, those underwater shots. The master, Steven Spielberg. John Carpenter's The Thing. I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, oh, Halloween. Nope, John Carpenter's The Thing. And then for my fourth, man, I really want to say Killer Clowns, but I don't know if I'm going to do that. But I think I got to go. You know what? Let me go back and forth. If you guys got one, let me go back and forth on my fourth one.
Duane, do you mind? Let me jump in while they're fresh in mind. I agree with you on Jaws. Stephen King's It, the remake of It.
Okay.
I really like the original with Tim Curry, but the remake, holy crap, scared the crap out of me.
Oh, wait, I got my fourth. Go ahead.
The Shining.
Ooh,
Shining.
Ooh.
And
I'm going to say overrated. Go ahead.
Oh, man, I love The Shining. I think it's so good.
Sorry.
So good. And then
I like the TV miniseries more. Oh, gonna trigger more fans.
Yeah, some of you might cringe at this fourth one, but to me, it was a real revitalization of the horror genre, and that was Scream.
Ooh, I love the Scream movies.
I almost said that, Mark. But
I'm sorry, yeah, and I apologize for that. For some people that I realize the horror history, like there's a lot of stuff that could be up there. Like for me, like the classic J. Romero stuff is like way up there for me. I love zombie genre.
I got to throw The Exorcist as my fourth.
Oh, man.
I see it. I was just going to say, all right, here's mine. The Exorcist, Halloween, and then I'm gonna go campy. Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street.
All good.
The originals.
All
so
good.
Guys, listen, whether it's horror.
Where are we right now?
Yeah, I was going to say, whether it's horror or it's Marvel or it's Disney, weird. We are weird. We are very weird. Thank you for being weird with us every single week. Brian, I miss you. I know that these two guys probably miss you too. But thank you so much to everyone who hung out with us. Check us out again, audio only. Oh, we're getting a little echo.
Oh,
check us out on our audio only podcast. And gentlemen, for all time,
always.